Afternoon, everyone. I'm FJanosik, and we're going to be going over storage devices as well as file structures for both Windows and Linux OSs. So for the file structure of a Windows OS, it's based off of a hierarchical structure. The file system almost always contains the volumes, the directories, and the files themselves. A file system enables applications to store and retrieve files on storage devices. Each file system consists of one or more drivers and dynamic links, libraries that define data, formats, and features. A file system controls how data is stored and retrieved. It's the method and data structure that an operating system uses to keep track of files on a disk or partition. It can separate the data we put in a computer into pieces and give each piece a name so that the information can be isolated and identified. Without a file system, all data would just exist in a mass within the computer instead of having a structured path and location to go to and to find. The file structure for Linux OS is very similar to Windows. It also uses a hierarchical structure. It uses root directories and specific data stores. Now you can go in and look up each of these data stores if you like. They're partitioned by logical volumes with particular file systems. The Linux file hierarchical structure, or the file system hierarchical structure, which is also the FHS, defines the directory structure and directory contents for Unix operating systems. The FHS files and directories appear under the root directory, even if they're stored on different physical or virtual devices. Some of these directories only exist on a particular system if certain subsystems, such as the Windows system, are installed. Most of these directories exist in all Unix operating systems and are generally used in such the same way. However, the descriptions are used specifically for the FHS and are not considered authoritative for platforms other than Linux. So all of these bases are only for the Linux OS. Depending on what you're doing, you could use either. Both OSs are good, but it all depends on the person. There are some individuals that are significantly more understanding and hands-on with Linux OSs, and they can do things that are amazing. Great. But then you also have the other side of that coin where you have individuals that prefer Windows. So it's always going to be based off of the person and what you're trying to do. The operating system that you choose to run is based off of your task. Some things are easier to do on Linux than Windows and vice versa. But most companies will choose Windows over Linux. The enterprise storage solution is the DAS, which is the direct attached storage. It's a form of data storage accessed through external drives, direct connections to a computer. For an example of a direct attached would be like a hard drive, which can be connected to a desktop or laptop through a cable, or an SSD, which uses a cable or an M2 port on the motherboard, which allows quick and easy access to the storage on the computer. And you also have the network attached storage, or the NAS, which allows files that are stored in one location to be accessible to multiple users in different locations. The NAS devices holds hard drives with storage files like documents, videos, music, etc. For companies that want to guarantee backup validation, they also add a RAID, which is the random array or independent disks, to the mix. Now, an example of a NAS that can be common even for students, not in the corporate world, um, would be like Google Drive. So your Google Drive gives you the ability to share with multiple people, but it is stored on a cloud or network instead of being stored essentially locally. Now, how does the Christian worldview fit into all of this? So, for the Christian worldview on the ethics of using storage, it can be here nor there. A lot of the time, it's going to be good, it's going to be beneficial. But then, if you ever run into those onesies and twosies that want to use that information to essentially knowingly hurt or cause malicious harm to a group, a person, an organization, then that's the negative aspect of it. Otherwise, um, it's a good thing. It helps keep information safe. Like, how would we all feel if the hospital lost all of our records and now we can't go back and get any of them? Because their computers crashed and they never backed anything up or stored anything properly, or it takes them a year to find our documents because they don't have a proper file system in place. All of these things matter, and all of these things wind up leading to a faster and more logical path for organizations. Now, if there are any questions, then that concludes my briefing.